What's up, everyone? Welcome to DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network. And as you see, it must be a special day because we've got a quad hear you. I'm joined today by Daniel Starkand, Blake Williams, Scott Geirman, and there's four of us because we're talking about the single biggest story of the MLB offseason, and you could make a case, maybe the single biggest offseason story in the last 4 or 5 years, and that is Shohei Ohtani. Rumors are swirling, predictions are swirling. Dodgers officially the betting favorites. If you want to place a wager on where Shohei Ohtani ends up, they are now the favorites, minus 110, minus 120, depending on where you look. But let me give you a recap of what we've heard so far. I'll let Blake Williams, who kind of has been following this the most closely, chime in, and then we'll react. But MLB.com did a poll of 58 writers, and the Dodgers were the overwhelming pick for Ohtani's next team. MLB Trade Rumors, all three of their writers predicting the Dodgers land Ohtani. FoxSports.com, 3 of 4 staff writers predict that Dodgers will be Ohtani's destination. The Athletics' Jim Bowden kind of zagging here, which might be good news if you're a Dodgers fan, predicting the Rangers to sign Ohtani. ESPN's Buster Olney says the Dodgers are the favorites. He said he heard from a person in the organization that Andrew Friedman is, quote, obsessed with Ohtani and will do whatever it takes to position them to land the 29-year-old. John Heyman adds that the decision not to offer a qualifying offer to JD Martinez was at least partially motivated. So again, Heyman right on brand, making the most obvious statement in the history of the world and sourcing it for us. Blake, is there more to this? I mean, a lot of what I just said, aside from Olney, is just people guessing and predicting, and it's hard to say if there's any information behind it. The only piece sounds interesting to me. Is there more from your perspective out there that should make Dodger fans optimistic, at least, about them signing Ohtani?
Yeah, so Eldon Gonzalez with ESPN was reporting that ownership is highly motivated to land Ohtani, and after being eliminated early in the playoffs, that could increase their odds of trying to go after him from an ownership perspective. So when you have ownership that's highly motivated, you have Andrew Friedman who's obsessed with it, signing him. It seems like a good bet that the Dodgers are going to be really in this and trying to sign him more than they were so with like guys like Bryce Harper, where they wanted him but gave him like 3 years. Like this could be something where they're going to try and go and all out, give him the 10-year deal he wants or whatever it takes to land him kind of thing. There's also a report from Buster Olney that said one of Ohtani's friends already believes he knows where he's going and that the bidding won't entirely matter as much. So if Ohtani doesn't want to be a Dodger, that might decrease their odds a bit. But from a perspective of Ohtani's wants of being on the West Coast and wanting to win and all that, it seems like the Dodgers just make perfect sense. So that could even help them, and maybe they won't have to go as all out, and maybe they can end up signing Yamamoto with some of that money if they don't have to get into a huge bidding war. So it just makes so much sense for Ohtani to be a Dodger and for the Dodgers to want Ohtani. There was another report from the LA Times that said Ohtani is going to be a priority for them this winter. So there's just so much there connecting Ohtani to the Dodgers. It's exciting, but also they need to actually get this deal done before we get too ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah, Daniel, you've kind of said that all of this positivity makes you nervous when you hear all these people saying Dodgers, Dodgers, Dodgers. That's sending red warning lights off in your brain.
Look, it definitely sounds too good to be true. I think we all want this to get done, and we like hearing that the Dodgers are the favorites and the Dodgers this, Dodgers that. But like Blake just said, until the deal gets done, like none of us are celebrating over here. But I think the key piece of all this is kind of what Blake mentioned, and it's ownership has to be all in on this. Like Andrew Friedman could want Ohtani all he wants. Like Dave Roberts could want Ohtani all he wants. Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, they could recruit Ohtani all they want. But if ownership isn't willing to cut whatever check it takes to get it done, then it doesn't matter. So I definitely think this is kind of going to be a case of like Ohtani's going to say, hey, this is what the contract's going to be. Who's willing to meet that, and then we'll go from there. So I definitely think the Dodgers need to be ready to open the checkbook to get a seat at the table. And if that's the case, I still think it just makes too much sense. Like he could stay close to where he's been his whole career. It's on the West Coast, which is what he wants. It's a chance to win. Like the Dodgers will let him continue to pitch as long as he's healthy enough to do so. Like everything he could possibly want is here. It's just a matter of, are they willing to offer him a big enough contract, and it's going to be big. Like they're not getting him for a discount. They might not get him for top dollar. Like he might take a little less, but at the same time, it's still going to be in the 500 million range, somewhere around there. So they got to be prepared to offer that. And if so, I think it should get done. But at the same time, like I said at the beginning, it just seems too good to be true. So I'm not getting excited yet.
Scott, MLB Trade Rumors has the projection at 12 years, $528 million. I was going back and forth with someone on Twitter as it relates to ownership, and they were kind of doing the math of like, okay, well, he's only a DH for 1 year, and then he's probably going to be able to pitch for, 5 or 6 or 7 of those years. And then at some point, he's probably not going to be able to pitch as effectively anymore. So then maybe he's less of an asset on the pitching side. This person did all the math, and I was like, and they're like, so I only think he's worth $40 million a year. And I said, but here's the thing. If you're the owner, that's 40 million of on-field production, double that for what he's going to be worth to you off the field. Like the value to ownership makes perfect sense to me, because the owners are looking at it and saying, Ohtani's off the field stuff is basically going to pay our luxury tax bill in its entirety every single season from here on out. And so ownership buying in makes sense to me. Here's the caveat, Scott, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. The idea that Ohtani has already made his decision is the part of all the things we just heard that scares me the most, because Andrew Friedman can want him all he wants. Dodgers ownership can want him all he wants. There's been reports that maybe the West Coast thing is overblown and that maybe he prefers the West Coast, but he's open to everyone, yada, yada, yada. Ohtani, if he's a different cat. Like the decision he made to come over in the first place and to pick the Angels was not what everybody expected. And it didn't make a ton of like business sense necessarily to come over before he could, be a true free agent. That's the part that worries me, that maybe he's just made up his mind that he wants to do something else. And no matter how badly the Dodgers want him and how much money they're willing to pay, maybe none of that matters.
Yeah, no, it's in collaboration with everything Blake said, Daniel said. It's got to be from the top down. Like it has to be a unilateral approach to understand that Shohei Ohtani's reach goes beyond just what he's doing on the field. Like they just hired a new VP of global partnerships. Like they're preparing, like they're top to bottom. I feel like this is something that Andrew Friedman's been wanting for quite some time. They had significant interest in him before he signed with the Angels. There's a lot to the contract that he's going to get and the huge number that it'll produce, and it's going to be record breaking. Yeah. But for what he does as the only two-way star right now since Babe Ruth, who's doing this on the field at an MVP rate on both sides. Yeah. We've never seen it. So it's going to take something that we've never seen before. And with the way that Shohei Ohtani could sell tickets in Angel Stadium when the Angels were completely imploding. Yeah. Like it's going to bring so much fanfare that we just haven't seen this. I know the Dodgers have been at that mountaintop for a little bit of time. They lead attendance every year. It's going to be a humongous thing. And I don't know if people really understand it yet we hope until that happens. If that happens, it's going to be worth every penny. It doesn't matter what they give him.
Let's do this. I want to do a roundtable, and let's start with the number. Basically, I'm going to ask you, is there a number at which you walk away from the table with Ohtani? So MLB Trade Rumors is predicting 12 years, $528 million. Now, we could get creative with incentives and all. We're not doing any of that, okay? Blake, I'll go Blake, I'll go Scott, I'll go Daniel. I'll start with you, Blake. 12 years, let's just call it an even $530 million. So we're talking, I believe that's like $43 or $44 million a year. A math person out there can help me out. Maybe it's $45 million a year. Thumbs up or thumbs down from you, Blake, and why?
I'm signing that all day, every day.
Okay.
Like we talked about, the partnerships he's going to bring, it's going to pay for that contract. The talent level you get with Ohtani, it's just going to be worth it. He's a two-way player, as we all know, so he's going to be pitching and hitting. And when you have that on one roster spot, you get the versatility there. Like, it's just all worth it. He's just so good. It's hard to put into words how good he is sometimes. So, give me that contract.
Scott, he's coming off a UCL tear. He can't pitch this year. Obviously, we've seen lots of guys come back without any issue from Tommy John surgery. The success rate now is better than ever. Expected to be ready offensively. by opening day of next season, which if you're a Dodger fan, just that sentence right there probably gives you a little bit of PTSD. Expected to be ready is something we've heard a lot of. All those things considered, $44 million a year for 12 years. Thumbs up or thumbs down from you?
2 thumbs up. I'd pay him, I'd pay him 50.
Okay.
I'd pay him
So
50 million
you'd
a
go
year.
12,600 if that was the
It's
number.
worth it, man. It's worth it. And they understand it too. Yes, they know that it's worth it. Like Artie Moreno knew that it's worth it. Like, yes, he'll be weeping if he doesn't re-sign with the Angels. So yes, I would pay him upwards of 50 million a year.
Daniel?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you approach this of we want to try to like get them for the lowest price possible, like we want to try to save money here, you're not going to get it done. So you gotta, with the Steve Cohens of the world, Giants ownership is very motivated right now. Like there's going to be plenty of other suitors. So you can't be lowballing Shohei Ohtani and expect him to come on board. So you got to get it done, even if it's an overpay. Like, so what? Like it's Shohei Ohtani. These guys laid it out. Like he's a two-way star. He's the best player in the game right now. Like not even a question. Like no one is even close to what he brings to the table. So I think you gotta be willing to do whatever it takes to get it done.
This reminds me of, I don't know if any of you watched the David Beckham documentary series that I believe is on Netflix, but there was an interview in there with the owner of the LA Galaxy when he made the decision to sign Beckham. And everybody thought he was crazy because the number that he ended up offering Beckham, I forget what it was, if it was $50 million a year, some outrageous number. And everyone thought he was crazy. And the guy basically, I remember thinking like, this is what makes people special at their jobs. When he looked at David Beckham and everybody else, the whole world was saying, this is crazy. Like he will never come. And then that's an outrageous amount of money. And the one guy who was different, the one guy who saw things differently, who saw an opportunity, and he said, no, you all are playing by old rules. Like you're making decisions based on a set of expectations that is outdated. And he made the decision to go and get Beckham. And it turned out to be an absolute stroke of genius. It saved the MLS. Obviously, like, whatever. And the story goes on, and Beckham's story is a little bit more complicated. But I think that's with Ohtani. Like, I think people are going to look at a $45, $50 million a year deal for 10, 12 years, and they're going to say, wait, this is crazy. This breaks all of the rules. Like, we've never given out more than 35 or 40 million, and we've never given it out for this many years. But I think they're going to look back on Ohtani, and they're going to say, no. You know what? This guy was different. He's different because he's a two-way player. Scott mentioned it. He led the league in slugging and on OPS last year. Like, you could argue he was the best hitter in baseball last season. And on top of that, he was one of, if not the best pitcher in baseball when he was healthy. And so if you just map all this out on top of the fact that he's an international superstar, by all accounts, he's an incredible human being. He's going to bring marketing dollars. He's going to bring like just relationships within the community, international relationships. Not to mention, again, he's going to be a guy that by all accounts is going to be the perfect face of a franchise to take over from Clayton Kershaw. You add all that up, and I'm with you, Scott. Like, there's almost a number. I don't know what the number would have to be where it would be too high for this guy. Is there risk? Of course there's risk. But at the same time, the upside, the pros and cons of this one make me say there's not really a number that would be too high. So, Scott, your thoughts?
In the competitive trickle down from what Shohei Ohtani brings, that's something we haven't even touched on yet. We could do another whole hour just speaking about that and what else he's done. If you want to see motivation, go watch Shohei Ohtani before the WBC championship game. Like that's exactly who you want to run your team. If you're worried about the Dodgers not having a voice in the clubhouse or something like that, Shohei Ohtani's the guy you want in there. So it's going to get to stupid money. But if you think that's stupid money, I'd hate for you to go Google how much MLB rakes in every year. Like, I would hate that. So it's not our money, but people need to realize Shohei Ohtani is something you've never seen before. And just because he's been playing in Anaheim with the Angels, just wait till you see what he can do, like on a team with the Dodgers when they're competing and when he's actually on a global stage. Like, he's on Sunday Night Baseball all the time. He's in prime time all the time. The guy is a unicorn. He's you have to pay him. You have to pay him something you've never seen, and it's going to break the rules. But just like you said, man, sometimes you've got to do things you've never done before.
Yeah, and by the way, Beckham ended up making about $500 million by coming over to the MLS back when he did, and that was a long time ago. So do the math on that one. Okay, last roundtable question. It's the obvious one. If you had to guess, do the Dodgers land Ohtani? Daniel, we'll go opposite direction this time, so I'll start with you. Again, we mentioned it. I believe you said it was like DraftKings. A lot of these places have the Dodgers as minus 110, minus 120. They're the favorites. All of the MLB.com writers are picking the Dodgers. FoxSports.com picking the Dodgers. MLB Trade Rumors picking the Dodgers. Buster Olney saying, it's likely, his prediction there. Do you agree with all those people, Daniel?
I mean, I don't see how you don't at this point, other than like you're just trying not to jinx it or like trying not to get too excited. But everything we've seen leads to the Dodgers. Like you said, the betting markets, like there's no bias involved in the betting markets. Like they're trying to make money. So if they're putting the Dodgers as the heavy favorites, that means they legitimately believe that's where he's going to end up. So I'd say yes. And just one point on the last topic, like as far as the money goes, like yes, years 9 through 12 of that contract probably aren't going to look great when he's like 37, 38 years old or whatever. Yeah. But the Dodgers window is right now. Like they have Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman in their prime. They have a ton of young talent. They have money to spend. Like the time is now. Like if you get 5-6 good years, you'll take that. Like you'll live with the back end. Like you want to win World Series now, and there's no one better to do that than Shohei Ohtani. So I'll say yes, he ends up with the Dodgers. I'm just hoping for the best. Like I'm not getting too excited, but at the same time, it's hard to ignore everything that's out there right now.
Scott,
man, they need to not botch this.
Yeah,
like the Dodgers cannot fumble this bag.
I really think I think they're doing it.
No, I think they're doing it.
Ohtani's going to sign with the Dodgers.
No, I really do. I really think this is something that for everything that Blake brought up about the organization being all in on that. Focus is Shohei Ohtani. Friedman being obsessed on that. Hope he's in his bathrobe, looking at money right now, counting it up. But it needs to be like the Dodgers, and I believe it will be. Okay. I co-sign everything Daniel said, and I know Blake's got some heat ready to go.
He got there, Blake. He got there and said he thinks it's going to be the Dodgers. I was proud of our guy Scott right there.
Hey, Blake. No, I've been on that. I've been thinking Shohei Ohtani for quite a bit of time.
Well, if they don't sign Shohei Ohtani, everything they've done for the past few seasons is kind of like even worse than what we already kind of criticized them for. So they absolutely have to land him. I think they're going to land him, but I do have some concerns about the report that he's already decided where he wants to go, and his free agency tours just kind of be like just for fun, I guess. So that does give me some concern, but from a perspective of the Dodgers being a perfect fit for him, I still think they are the team that ends up getting him.
Yeah, and I would
Jeff, you have sorry to step in. You have to say no here. We can't. All four of us cannot say yes. That cannot happen.
I was just going to add, I actually think while it does concern me that he's already made a decision, I also would say, like, if he made this decision 3 months ago, 6 months ago, like at every point of the process, the Dodgers would have been the decision that made the most sense. Like if you were going to question the Dodgers, it would probably be now. So if he made his decision like a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, when his season ended, then maybe that favors the Dodgers. But I mean, I am going to agree because that I think Ohtani does sign with the Dodgers. And it's simply because I can't think of a single reason why I would pick somebody else. Like there's not a compelling reason for why it would be the Giants or why it would be the Mariners or why it would be the Mets or why it would be the Rangers. I just looked down the list of reasons and I don't see it. Like the Mets aren't set up to win. They sold off for prospects at the deadline, all the guys they had signed. Now with the money that Cohen spends, could they turn that around quickly? It's possible, but it's unlikely. I think the Giants in the same boat. Like, what's the pathway to winning there? They have a new manager. Like, that part doesn't make sense to me. I think the Mariners, honestly, I've said the whole time, I think the Mariners would be my second choice if it's not the Dodgers because of the relationship with that organization and the country of Japan via Ichiro. And because he got to see up close and personal the Mariners a ton. They have a ton of young talent, fun talent. It's on the West Coast. And so like the Mariners would be my sleeper. Obviously, if the Rangers wanted to get involved, it's another team he's familiar with in the AL West. They obviously just won. They seem like they're set up for some success moving forward with some superstars there as well. And so I see some reasons why, but in every case, if it's like, well, location, well, the Dodgers are a better location. It's right where he's already been. And he, by all accounts, is comfortable. Organizationally, the Dodgers are better set up to give him a pathway to success. They're better set up for team success moving forward. Like I don't know if World Series odds have come out for next year already, but I guarantee you the Dodgers are one of the 2 or 3 biggest favorites to win the World Series next year. And so regardless of what he's looking for, I think the Dodgers check all the boxes. Scott, I'll come to you to throw in one final word, and then Blake, and then we'll close this one out.
There's just a team that nobody's really been bringing up, and it's the Chicago Cubs. I'm just telling you, I wouldn't rule them out. Nobody's really brought that up. Just Chicago Cubs. It's out there, but it's something that.
And why the Cubs?
Seiya Suzuki. That's one thing there. He's got some ties in, TV money, ownership. I feel like they could, have some motivation, get something big done, make a splash there. They've kind of shocked some people. Dansby Swanson. They brought in Cody Bellinger. Who knows, man? Yeah, Craig Guess. There you go. So it's a spot that same type of motivation, same type of big stuff. Aside from the Boston Red Sox, I'm going to say Chicago Cubs, a little dark horse.
Okay. Blake, last thought. Close us out.
I do believe the Cubs were one of the teams Ohtani considered his first time coming here. I think they were the first East team. But I just want to throw out the only thing Ohtani's talked about with his contract on the record. He's a pretty private person and doesn't talk to the media a whole lot. But he said a priority for his next contract is going to be winning, which I think that's pretty notable considering he doesn't talk about his contract. And he came out and said that, especially at a time while the Angels were kind of falling off a cliff there. So if he wants to win, there's no organization better at winning and getting to the postseason than the Dodgers. So there's my pitch to Ohtani. Wow. Like, you want to win, come to LA.
Daniel, did I just hear that? Did Blake just say that there's no organization that is better suited for winning than the Dodgers?
I want to make it a quote. I want to get that. Blake, can you tweet that for me, please?
For the regular season, let's clarify.
Oh, yeah, I didn't hear regular season the first time around.
There you go.
For what it's worth, by the way, Braves are the favorites at plus 600 to win the World Series next year. The Dodgers are second at 700 and the Rangers at 850. So for what it's worth, there you go. Daniel, any final closing thoughts?
I think I'm just going to switch my pick to him signing somewhere else now, just because we can't all have all four of us. So I'll say he signs with the Mariners. That's my prediction.
There you go. There you go. Those are odds via FanDuel, by the way. So plus 600 for the Braves to win the World Series, 700 for the Dodgers. Let us know what you think below. Of course, give me is there a number that is too high for you on Ohtani? And secondly, do you think he signs with the Los Angeles Dodgers? That is Daniel Starkand, Scott Geirman, Blake Williams. My name is Jeff Spiegel. Again, thank you for joining us. If you're new, please subscribe, ring the notification bell. Tons of content every day throughout the offseason. We've got stuff up on DodgerBlue.com, videos here. And of course, if you're a podcast person, Apple, Spotify, Google, search for the DodgerHeads podcast. Give us a follow, a rating, review. We would greatly appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your day, folks. And as always, go Dodgers.